advisor to the president in charge of referencing and international rankings, former president of the Observatoire of Paris and Astronomer of the University PSL in Paris, France. Please, Daniel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Luciano. I think you hear me, everybody.
Yes, very well.
Everybody. So University PSL is a new university built following the merger of a dozen prestigious higher education and research institutions and schools in Paris, including Université Paris-Dauphine, a member of UNICA in the past, École Normale Supérieure, Institut Curie, or Observatoire de Paris. As a new university, PSL is following with great interest the international university rankings, as our main objective is to build a new world-class university from a fragmented and quite specific to France network of universities, schools, and grandes écoles, and national research organizations such as CNRS or INSERM. We are all quite skeptical of university rankings in general. However, we have learned that in order to know yourself better, it is good to compare yourself to others. And international rankings do provide useful indicators in this regard. Coming to the impact ranking, our interest came also from the fact that we were starting a new bachelor program in sustainable development sciences. By the way, the start of this program had to be postponed for a year because our only sponsor for this program was a major French bank, and PSL was quickly accused of greenwashing. Well, this episode is now behind us. We have a bigger group of sponsors and an improved program, which is just starting these days. And in any case, like many other universities, we have a growing interest in SDGs, in sustainable development sciences, in keeping with the interest of new generations of students. Personally, I am in charge of following the rankings from my university. By the way, my background as an astronomer is to be a data scientist, working on the international access to observational data, simulations and theories, and published results in astronomy and astrophysics. So as a data scientist, my first move when we discussed about the impact ranking was to use the databases of publications, Scopus, Web of Science, or whatever you have on hand, in order to try to identify in which specific areas of the Sustainable Development Goals or in which SDGs my university was most present and productive. Elsevier is providing us with nice tools for this. The SDGs have been coded within Scival and Scopus on the basis of sets of keywords, always improving. I think Duncan has shown that already. As you know, some SDGs cover very broad areas, health, for instance, while some can be considered as more delimited in terms of scientific research. No poverty, SDG 1, for instance. To give some practical figures, SDG 13, climate action, it is about 170,000 articles in a 5-year period, 2014-2018. Among these 170,000 papers in the world, we had 2,000 papers signed by somebody from our university. So a little more than 1%. That was quite big, quite our best proportion among the different SDGs. So we decided we had to choose this one, climate action, in the short list of 6 SDGs that we wanted to answer in detail out of a minimum of 4. We could have run for the 17 SDG, but it was too much work for the first year. So the others we choose were SDG 1, no poverty, and the reason was that we had a recent Nobel Prize of Economy with brilliant research, brilliant results in this specific area of poverty, who had been trained in our perimeter. SDG 14, life below water, and SDG 11, sustainable cities. SDG 9, industry innovation, was also an obvious choice for us because we knew that our important innovation programs, industry income, etc., were already well qualified in the global THE ranking. So maybe I can show as a slide, I can share just the table. I think you should see that. So maybe you see the table of the Excel files that I built to see for each SDG, for instance, well, 13 climate action, 170,000 papers. Here are our papers, 11, well, 1% of what 11.2, etc. And in this field, in this SDG, we were number 10 in the world by the number of publications, number 3 in France. So we say, oh, look, it might be interesting. Sorry, going back. The next step was, of course, to answer the 10 or so questions that are used by the Times Higher Education to assign marks to university. To university involvement. Each answer must be accompanied by 1 to 3 proofs, as Duncan has explained, which is a document, a web page, a note, a press clipping assessing the action. As has been said, these actions are in general outside the fields of research, but rather concern teaching and training, public outreach, organized events, student initiatives, relation with governmental or non-governmental bodies, etc. At the end, we found the exercise very useful, and we learned a lot about a number of international initiatives and events going on our university perimeter. If we take the example of SDG 14, just to give some practical example, SDG 14, life below water, the involvement of our university in Tara Oceans expeditions to study plankton in the oceans around the world was already fairly well known by our colleagues. But we also have a number of actions concerning coral reefs with a laboratory operated in French Polynesia, and an international program called iGlobes with University of Arizona dealing with the geopolitics of water. Locally, we host an ecotron, which is a national platform for aquatic ecology. And on the students' initiative side, there are public events and, of course, as in many other places, efforts to reduce water waste at our university sites. The only thing we could not decently include was the search for life and water on other planets, an area of excellence for the Paris Observatory, but still quite significantly outside of SDG 14, I think. Coming back to the impact ranking itself, to put it bluntly, this ranking explores areas that are generally very poorly marked out, and the resulting indicators are sometimes based on truly innovative actions, sometimes of actions of minor importance, or even some that could be qualified as rather fertile. So you have to take this as a game. The exercise of answering collectively to all the questions is certainly more important, or was certainly for us more important than the final result, the rank. So, as I've been said, for Impact 2020, the winner is the University of Auckland, New Zealand. Our own rank was 53. Second in France after Aix-Marseille University, and 22 or so in Europe, which we found quite consistent with our own ranking of our own rank of 46 in the World University Ranking, and let's say a pretty good and encouraging indication to continue the efforts. So that's all what I wanted to tell you today. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Danielle. It's really also very interesting, your personal experience